The Panthers bounced back in a big way in Los Angeles, getting their first win since 2019. And third period shutdown hockey, oh, how we missed you.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Friday, November 7th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MonoMan12. That is Nich Fairbanks joining me on another edition of Fairbanks Friday. You can follow him on X at Prudential0. Follow the show anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. You can do that all on FanDuel. So the Florida Panthers defeat the Los Angeles Kings by a final score of 5-2 from Crypto.com Arena, where the Panthers blew it open in the third period, and having a lead going into a period, but not a very promising start for the Panthers as the ice was tilted in their direction, went into the second period, tied, and then the Panthers with a goal by Sam Reinhart, which ended up being the GWG for the Panthers, were able to shut it down from there. And it was only a small stretch that the Panthers gave up goals by the Los Angeles Kings. 2 goals in a minute and 27 stretch for Los Angeles. But Nick, the Panthers are checking out right now, and they're leaving Southern California with 2 big points. And if you're thinking that's an Eagles reference right there from the famous band, you're absolutely right. So what a way for the Panthers to truly bounce back here.
I think it was a statement win for them, considering, they haven't won in LA in many years. And, that team is trying to put together a team that's going to beat Edmonton. So definitely a team out west that you want to look out for in, Anze Kopitar's last season. So I think with what has been going on with the Panthers, they needed to get back to their identity. They needed to play shutdown hockey. And after the first period, they were actually able to really settle it down. But, by far, I don't think it would have been possible if it wasn't for Sergei Bobrovsky tonight.
Oh, no doubt. And the amount of high danger saves that he made, he had 6 high danger shots against in the first period. The how well he was with timing his poke checks as well, especially on some breakaways that the LA Kings truly had in the beginning of the game. I mean, Ekblad got caught not once but twice in the first period, which one of them resulted in a goal. One of them by Corey Perry, as Mikey Anderson had the stretch pass, and he was able to beat Sergei Bobrovsky on one of the goals after the Panthers went up 1-0, and the LA Kings were able to score with that 5 forward power play from the point with Anze Kopitar being parked up front. But even then, Kopitar was a little frustrated throughout the game, where stopped on a breakaway. There was one shot that was off the end boards that Kopitar couldn't handle necessarily well, and Sergei Bobrovsky was able to get the left pad out. But really, for the Panthers, it was really not giving. It really came down to not giving up those breakaway opportunities later on in the game. And to think that with the Panthers power play, it was a group that struggled. Only 1 shot on goal on the night in their 2 power play opportunities, none on the first one. And to think that one little small tweak for the Panthers was the biggest difference, in my opinion, in this game, as well as the Panthers were reunited Anton Lundell and Eetu Luostarinen on the PK, and how they were able to disrupt Adrian Kempe running the point.
Mm-hmm.
I did message Eddie Garcia of Locked On LA Kings, asking him why Drew Doughty isn't running the point for the power play. And that was a group that was running it at a really high rate last season, with Doughty being injured most of last year. but you gotta think that Adrian Kempe, he would be unlocked more if he were not running the point. But yeah, you could listen to Locked On LA Kings more to listen to that. But the point being is how the Panthers noticed that with although Kempe is very skilled, they knew how to pounce, knowing that it was a forward right there on the blue line.
They did, and I think I counted maybe two clear breakaways where Kempe couldn't control the puck, and luckily the second one, Lundell was able to bury it. I believe that Rodriguez would have scored. He actually had a really
Yeah.
good chance, and if it wasn't for just maybe a quarter inch more, it would have went in between Forsberg's blocker and the side. So Panthers really did come to play tonight. The PK looked really good, and yeah, that tweak, putting the Finnish players back together, never split them up again. I mean, it just seems like they feed off each other and they know exactly what each other's tendencies are going to be. So, going up against a team like the Kings, they were snapping the puck around pretty well, and I'm actually surprised they didn't score on a few chances. But Florida hung in there and they did what they had to do. On the opposite side, with the power play only getting one shot, did you see how aggressive the LA Kings were on their PK? I mean, they were flying to the puck and just disrupting everything. So it's not a surprise they only got one shot, but I think it's something that the Florida Panthers have to stop, I guess delaying with the puck and everything and letting things set up. Like they have to start whipping the puck around as well, especially a team, like a team against the Kings.
Yeah, and Mikey Anderson disrupted a real big opportunity that Sam Reinhart tried to set up Anton Lundell like on one of the power plays on the first one that they had in the second period, and just one little handle that would have been a goal earlier in the game for Anton Lundell. But really for the Panthers, although the forecheck wasn't really going at as far as quantity for the Panthers, their forecheck was going well as far as the quality, and you saw that as a result in the two goals that they scored in the first period. And after the first, I was seeing it as a big win, as the shot differential was 14-8, and you see how the Panthers were able to just dump in, retrieve, and get it on the score sheet for the Panthers, as we saw with the rebound opportunity from Sam Bennett, and then Brad Marchand sneaking up on Anton Forsberg, which the last time the Panthers faced Anton Forsberg, he shut them out as the Panthers visited Ottawa in early April, and that was the start of the Panthers kind of being on a downward trajectory right before going to the playoffs. They got absolutely goalied that game, but not this time, as Brad Marchand was able to sneak behind him, and even the broadcast mentioned how the Kings players were yelling at Forsberg, saying that Brad Marchand was coming there, and really they also provided a stat. The Panthers had 3 rebound goals off of rebounds, coming into tonight's game, and tonight they had 2. Just being able to pick it up and see, and being fat, and just being able to go north consistently, that really was a difference. And speaking of going north, the fact that the Panthers also acknowledged that when the puck was rimmed around in the defensive zone, and you saw two players from the Kings below the goal line, I was literally yelling at my go, because the Panthers were going to have numbers, and then that beautiful give and go play from Carter Verhaeghe and Sam Reinhart, birthday boy Sam Reinhart, being able to score there, and that ended up being the GWG.
Yeah, and cheers to Sam Reinhart on his 30th birthday today. Wouldn't want to have it any other way, putting a GWG in the back of the net. Big goal for this team. But Sam Bennett finally got a goal that I think alleviated some pressure in his mind, and you can tell it's kind of like starting to get to him a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think as the season goes on, I think he will get better. We've kind of been harsh on him, but once you get paid and you showed what you did during the Stanley Cup playoffs, there's an expectation, and I hope this will be the time that he's able to turn it around. But with the Kings doubling down on the rimmed shots and everything, I almost felt like Florida could have had like a ton of odd man rushes and they could have converted on more of them. But the way that, LA plays, they like to collapse down on you. And to my surprise, the Panthers were able to get a couple of those rebound goals. And the stat that you just shared is amazing because,
Yeah.
Florida over the last couple of seasons has been one of the best down in the blue paint, getting rebounds or chips and everything. And, without Matthew Tkachuk or, without Barkov, it's not there. So what do the Panthers have to do? They have to continually get to the paint and find the rebound. So it's got to be a consistent thing, and they can't shy away from it.
Yeah, and hopefully this is the start of it going into the Panthers' direction. And yeah, the analytics say that the Panthers are in fact getting those of high quality, but it hasn't been going in. And really, this was one of those games where the Panthers really truly put the pressure on. And yeah, the shot on goal differential in the first period really had a really skewed it to the point where the box score might not look like the Panthers truly tilted it, but there were truly points, especially 5 minutes after the second period, where the Panthers were able to truly do it. And to think that in the first few minutes in the third period, LA was shot out of a cannon, and the Panthers were still able to truly weather that storm. And thankfully, that really truly ended when Sam Bennett actually drew a penalty on Philip Deneau in the offensive zone, mind you. That's truly a big, not necessarily the turning point of the game, which actually gives us a great opportunity to transition to segment number 2, but we'll discuss our 3 stars of the game and the moment where we knew the game was won. We'll discuss that more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Rougiette. And let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. That's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatment for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms or no in-person visits. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off of your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know that we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. Segment number 2 here on this Friday, November 7th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Friday. Armando Velez here with Nich Fairbanks on another edition of Fairbanks Friday as the Florida Panthers defeat the Los Angeles Kings by a final score of 5-2 to split the 2 games in Southern California 1-1, and the Panthers right back on track as far as the road trip. And Nick, before we get into our 3 stars of the game, it truly felt great that the Panthers were able to go into a third period with a lead, because this was only the second time on the road that they've been able to go into a period with a lead, and this is game number 7 on the road for them. So outstanding that they went back to what we are used to.
Yeah, it's almost as if we've gone 6 months without seeing something like that. And what does that lead to? I mean, I don't know. So it was refreshing to see, because you're doing it without your top 2 players. You're doing it without your superstars, and you're doing it without one of the glue defensemen that has become even more valuable than I think a lot of people thought. And you're doing it with some guy at call-ups, and you had to go pick up a guy in waivers and everything. And just the way that they were able to come into the third period, being able to push back against that torpedo that the LA Kings were to start the period. So it was good to see that they stuck with it and they didn't back down from it. I was worried, to be honest, when Sam Bennett took a tripping penalty. because he does take those at bad times. And then once again, Carter Verhaeghe with his high stick. Two of the most notorious penalty calls, in Panthers probably history, just because it's coming almost every game. But they showed the resiliency, and that's what we recognize in this team over the last couple of years. And if they can do that without the star power, good things are gonna happen, and the goals are gonna come. So, as I said before, I mean, we saw it 6 months ago, and it was refreshing to see again.
Yeah, weathering that storm, 4 power plays to 2 in favor of the LA Kings there, and the Panthers doing that, being able to do that, although they weren't necessarily disciplined. But let's get to our 3 stars. Number 3 star for me, Anton Lundell. I thought he was a big force, not just with the big penalty kill, but there was also a big battle that he had with Joel Edmondson on the power play that he was really battling and really truly fought to get a shot on goal. And like I mentioned earlier, that he was truly living in the net front for the Panthers throughout the night, even though the shots on goal might not always tell the whole story there. But I really truly saw how he was doing off the puck as well. Brad Marchand, the 2 goals, you have to have him as a star for the Panthers. Clear lane to the net and wasting no time on that second goal, where the Panthers dumped it in, got on their forecheck, and was able to separate it even more and putting no doubt when it came to this hockey game. And number 1 star for me is Sergei Bobrovsky, and especially in the beginning of the third period, where especially that big poke check on Anze Kopitar to not allow a shot after this one was Nico Mikkola actually getting caught, not Aaron Ekblad this time around, really early in the third period, shortly after the LA Kings actually killed a penalty. So big moment, and that could have really turned the game. And then shortly after, that was the Verhaeghe high stick. So different swings could have happened for the Panthers there for the LA to possibly tie the game at that moment. So those are my 3 stars.
So I'm going to put a 3rd star on Brad Marchand tonight. He continues to defy ageism. He's 37. He's putting on 2 goals. I think he's going to start chasing Sidney Crosby for the Maurice Richard trophy, which would be crazy. But he is leading the team. He's doing what he does best, and he's just putting them on the back right now. I don't think Florida would have as many points or wins tonight without him. And it just goes to show how important he's become, even, when he had to leave for a game. But, he's showing his value, and he's showing that he is, a integral part of this team, even though he's only been on it for 7 months?
Yeah.
If that. So it's really great to see that he continues it, but it rolls off into my 2nd star, which is Sergei Bobrovsky, who was able to shake off that performance against Anaheim, where I don't blame him for that game. That the team was just horrible in front of him, leaving him out to dry a lot. And for him to have the mental fortitude to be strong and put a performance out like that, it's shown that his game has grown since he first signed with the Panthers a few years ago. And then the 1st star I am going to give to Anton Lundell. I do think the Anaheim game kind of woke him up a little bit, because he has shown a little bit more of a physicality and a little bit more snarkiness, I'll say, because he was not at all happy with that. I think it was Zellweger, I think, on Anaheim. Yeah. And you could just see how angry he was. And it's very hard, I guess, to get him, cooked up. So I think having that energy or that boost kind of carried over into this game. And you got to see him not only take out Joel Edmondson on a hit and, scoring the big goal to really kind of put the Panthers, ahead, but he is continuing to evolve in front of our eyes. And I want to see what he's going to be like at the end of the season, because he does deserve the 2C and he deserves to keep it.
No doubt. And you saw him fiery on Tuesday night, and then you saw him with like a little smirk, very little emotion when he did score the goal. So, not necessarily learning from Barkov, at least at least from the fieriness from Tuesday. That's all Anton Lundell there, but the no very little reaction from tonight. That is kind of a little bit of Barkov-esque there. Brad Marchand, three game goal streak, by the way, for Marchie. So big ups to him on just how he's been able to just continue to press on for this and be a leader on the ice, in the locker room, in every which way for the Panthers there. So big ups to him. So let's go to the moment where we knew the game was won. We may have the same one, the shorthanded goal, right?
Of course.
Probably the easiest one that we'll ever do this season, right?
Probably. I mean, with that goal, I mean, you could just tell that LA was broken after that.
Yeah.
And you can't give up chances like that twice in a game.
And to think, it's funny because when I previewed the show, I was discussing the Panthers' goal differential in the third period for the season. Even Emily Kaplan on the ESPN Plus broadcast mentioned it as well on the goal differential, and then also discussing around the league on how many players around think that the Panthers will be fine. And to think that shutdown hockey, a sense of comfort, at least for us watching, not necessarily the players, but the comfort level that we were watching when we were watching the game. And to think that the fifth goal came with about 7 minutes is like, okay, the Panthers did everything they had to do. They just have to have those quick exits, roll the four lines. And this is something that we didn't really see much, at least in the beginning of the season. So that's also the beauty that we got to see that. And you know, a regulation win, which again, we've spoken about the big swings in the Eastern Conference, going from last in the East to just outside of the wild card spot, just with those 2 points. So that's big for the Panthers on just a response. And we've seen this so many times. They are the teeter-totter from what we have seen this season. So two very, very important points. Can't emphasize that enough. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we are going to discuss the two hockey federations that have released their jerseys for the Winter Olympics in 2026. We're also going to give our thoughts on the upcoming Hockey Hall of Fame class and also discuss Saturday night's game between the Panthers and the Sharks. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets from everything on who will score the next fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Segment number 3 here on this Friday, November 7th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Armando Velez here with Nich Fairbanks on another edition of Fairbanks Friday. And we got some news as two of the hockey federations have announced their sweaters are going to be looking like for the 2026 Olympics in Milano Cortina. So we are going to start with Team Canada in this one, as I'm going to do a screen share for the YouTube audience here, as we're going to take our faces away from the screen for a little bit. And Nick, I'll be honest, I'm okay with the white and the red jerseys for Team Canada, but the black one, I think the Maple Leaf should be red on that one. It's a little too much black for my liking, and if you're looking at it from far away, you kind of have to squint to see what it is.
Yeah, I don't know if our listeners are going to be able to see it. I mean, you guys can check it out on X, but it looks like some kind of plant. I'll just leave it at that from far away. But yeah, the red and white jerseys look great. But I think they should leave the black jerseys to the World Juniors, and they've actually been done very well for that age group.
Yeah, and you could see on the sleeves the maple leaf there, and also the Olympic rings. So that's another little touch that they are gonna put there as they are playing as the NHL will be putting in players there for the first time since 2014. So those are just my quick thoughts on the Canadian sweaters there. So now let's provide another screen share here for Team Finland, and this is the ones here. And honestly, these are clean. I actually like these ones a little bit more than the Canadian ones. Doesn't say Suomi like they did with the Four Nations one, and how they have in recent international tournaments, but I really truly like the darker shade of blue, especially on the what's considered the home jersey.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a different type of concept that they're going for. I think the white one looks clean as well. Finland's probably got one of the best away, international jerseys in my opinion, and I would definitely take number 15 Lundell in white, but you can't say enough about what Finland does with their jerseys. They're always clean and they always look really good.
No doubt. And still a shame that we are not going to be able to see the captain, Alexander Barkov, for the Winter Olympics there. Just unfortunate that he's unfortunately missing out as he is still healing from his ACL and MCL injuries. But the Hockey Hall of Fame induction is this weekend. The official ceremony is going to be on Monday, but there's going to be all types of events going on throughout this weekend in Toronto, and some of the players that stand out, especially one who's near and dear to our heart, who spent 1 year in Florida, Jumbo Joe Thornton, a Hart Trophy winner who won the Hart Trophy in the same season that he was traded, mind you. It's funny. You know who was in that trade for Jumbo Joe Thornton when he went to San Jose? Their current head coach in Marco Sturm. He was part of that trade, funny enough. Yeah. And then Duncan Keith, 3-time Norris Trophy winner, Conn Smythe winner. Some female hockey players in Brianna Decker for Team USA, Jennifer Botterill, who you could see on Hockey Night in Canada, 3 gold medals, 1 silver medal, and one of the standouts, which was a long time coming, and Alexander Mogilny, defected from Russia, and without him, you may not see a Pavel Bure, and Alexander Ovechkin, and so many different type of other Russian players in the NHL. But Mogilny is not going to be able to make it. But I wonder if he's missing it on purpose because of how many years they left him off, and is just saying, screw you guys. This isn't my worth based on a Hockey Hall of Fame. If you're going to leave me out this many years, I'm not just going to show up. And I honestly kind of respect it.
Yeah, I think the last year has been a real push for him to be in. Not to say that other years haven't been. I mean, he's been robbed of being in the Hall of Fame for many years, but I think last year's inductees was just the final straw that he was not amongst them. And, talk about a guy who, was, one of the, building blocks of Buffalo back in the day. He was big on Vancouver as well. And it just, overall, as you said, he was one of those Russian players that, was, important to the migration of, Eastern Europeans coming over to the game. So to say that, he didn't deserve it, or like maybe the Hall of Fame just didn't think he had numbers worthy of it, you have to understand the impact that some of these guys had on the game. I mean, if I'm not going to say names, but there are some players that may have gotten in there with lower stats, but because of the impact that they had on the game, they're already in. But you're going to keep Alexander Mogilny out. It doesn't make sense to me at all.
Politics. That's what it comes down to.
I didn't want to say that P word.
But 1,000 points, over a point per game, and a Stanley Cup champion in 2000. So more than deserving when you look at all those other accolades for McGillney there, but he's finally getting his opportunity to get in. So congratulations to him, and very looking forward to. And also another player, Zdeno Chara, who was around 4 different teams: New York, Ottawa, Boston, and then eventually ended back on Long Island. And at least the biggest memory that I had of Zdeno Chara, playing the Stanley Cup final with a broken jaw. I'll never forget that, and just really pinpointed as far as the tough of the tough when it comes to hockey players as well, and just a true leader when it came to the Boston Bruins. And I think about his Stanley Cup lift back in 2011, the hat falling off while he's trying to lift it as well. So that's another standout for me when it comes to legends of the game. But Florida, now the Panthers have to let's get back to the Panthers here. Panthers are going to San Jose. It's another late night with the Cats on Saturday night, as they'll be facing an up-and-coming, exciting San Jose Shark team. Although they score a lot of goals, they will also give up a lot of goals. And the Panthers last year, they took the San Jose Sharks' lunch money and some when it came to the amount of times that they prevented the San Jose Sharks from breaking out. And crazy to think, Macklin Celebrini is up there as far as the points leader in the NHL alongside Connor McDavid. So he's truly in that elite company. So you have those complement of players with him, Will Smith. They're bringing in Sam Dickinson along there, who's also a high draft pick, who won the Memorial Cup with the London Knights just last year. But there's also questions on the handling of one of their young prospects who they just recently drafted in Michael Misa. He hasn't gotten to the 9-game threshold to send him back to junior just yet, but there's also the 40-game threshold there as far as possible future arbitration as well. So there's also the decision there. But also JD Young of Locked On Sharks spoke on Locked On AHL earlier this week about they're almost at 50 contracts, so that there might be a trade that might happen in order to try to either fit Misa back in or send him back to junior. So there's also those roster decisions that they have to make there. But long ways away for San Jose, but still a very exciting team that has a pretty bright future.
I've been able to watch them more this season because I'm actually become a big fan of Celebrini. I think he was, in a way, one of the unknowns coming in, just because I think Bedard overshadows him. But talk about a guy who plays two-way hockey and has the offensive finesse of the best of them. I was able to watch how he was able to play against Detroit, and then, a couple of the games before that. But he is something special. But, they are building a really good nucleus there. And Dickinson impressed me a lot. Will Smith is dangerous as well. They just got to figure out what they're going to be doing at the rest of the back end and also in goaltending, because I know that they did acquire Askarov, but it's Nedeljkovic who's actually been their number one. So it's kind of wondering, did we make a mistake there in signing him, or maybe he just needs a little bit more time to, gel, or I guess grow up a little bit.
Yeah, Yaroslav Askarov in a trade with the Nashville Predators after they signed UC Saros. They gave a first-round pick for him. Right catch goaltender, by the way, Yaroslav Askarov. So you wonder if it's a product of just a lot of high danger chances against, and you're looking at who's running on their blue line. John Klimberg, who injuries have gotten the best of him, unfortunately. Dmitry Orlov, who the Panthers picked on quite a bit in the Eastern Conference Final, trying to kind of mentor some of the other guys with the Panthers there. So and it's funny, Jeff Skinner makes the playoffs last year, barely plays, and then he goes to the San Jose Sharks. So it hasn't been will Jeff Skinner ever be back in the playoffs? We hope to see him back there one day there. And the vibes are also really well. They talk about the epic sleepovers with Tyler Toffoli, Will Smith, and Macklin Celebrini there. So they have a lot of fun on the road. So I'm looking forward to see the Panthers and and facing off and seeing what this young group is made of once again against the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions. But Nich, I want to thank you so much for joining me on another edition of Fairbanks Friday. We are recapping a win here, thankfully, for the Panthers. And hey, it's a great opportunity to keep it going. But before we sign off here, not only I do want to wish you a very happy birthday as you will be celebrating your birthday on Saturday when the Panthers do play the San Jose Sharks. And for those listening, make sure to comment down below on the YouTube channel or on X or on Instagram to wish Nich a happy birthday. So Nich, all the best wishes. I hope you have a great weekend, and most importantly, tell everybody where they can follow you online.
Appreciate it. Not getting a day younger. So I'm just appreciative of every day and every chance I get to talk Panthers hockey right now, because it's been a long time and it's, the best thing right now. So you guys can follow me on X at Prudentia0. If you guys have Instagram or any other of those socials, you guys can follow me at Beret1096. But Armando, thank you for the birthday wishes and great post game. And I'll see you next week.
Absolutely, and we're back to East Coast time on a recap next week. So let's get some rest. So shall we?
Let's
see you
do
next
it.
week. See you next week, my friend. And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL Network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Nich Fairbanks. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.